Hey guys, is this review on time? Technically. I did not get this review out yesterday on Monday, but I did get it out today on the day that this book is released. So I'm counting it as on time because at the very least, I can tell you about this book. And you know what? There's no lag time for you if you decide that you want to read it. You can go out and do that however it is you get your books right now. Will you want to at the end of this review? Unknown. But we are going to talk about it and then you can make up your own mind. So the book that we're talking about today is Love and Other Brain Experiments by Hannah Brahm. This is Hannah's debut book, and it is, if you cannot guess by the title, a STEM romance. This is the story of Frances. Frances is a postdoc PhD in neuroscience who is interested in understanding how brains work so that she can understand memory better. Particularly, she's interested in finding a cure or at least some sort of treatment for Alzheimer's. And the book opens with her on a plane on her way to New York City for a very, very big, important conference. She is going to be presenting there. She may meet her idol in neuroscience there. Oh, and also this conference is being organized by her ex, who is also a PhD in neuroscience, and his career has done a lot better than hers in the years since they broke up. On the plane, she ends up sitting next to a very, very kind, also PhD named Lewis. Lewis technically wants to ask her about helping him cut down an abstract to the appropriate word count, and then he discovers that Frances is terrified of flying. He's very, very sweet. He holds her hand, he talks her through it, and then when they actually get down to talking about the science, it is revealed that Lewis is his middle name, and he goes by Dr. North, aka the person who on every single one of Frances's published articles comes back with some pretty cutting, scathing, and heavy criticism, aka her academic rival. You can guess just from this opening scene that Frances is not having a good time, on top of the fact that she is about to come face to face with her ex since they broke up. Her entire reason for this was that she did not want to have her success basically put under his name. And so she was like, I can be successful on my own, and they broke up. Like I said, he's been very successful, has a tenured academic job. She is still floating around, has no permanent job. Now she's also revealed her, underbelly to this guy who was her friend at one point, but then, totally undercut her in the world of academic publishing and now just gives all these criticisms about her on social media. Her funding is about to be up. So she is about to once again have to find a new job. There is a whole bunch of grants that she's been applying for that she's been rejected. Again, not having a good time. To make matters worse, when Frances arrives at registration for this conference, who else is there at that time but Lewis? The person they are supposed to be registering with is late, so they are, talking, sniping at each other in the hallway. They basically end up in a position where they are nose to nose and holding hands right as the person who is manning the registration walks in, sees them like that, and makes certain assumptions like that they're together. Oh, and by the way, the person doing registration, her name is Vivian, and she is Frances's ex's new fiance. And do Frances and her boyfriend want to come to dinner at their house? Frances makes a snap decision to say, yes, of course, she and her boyfriend would love to do that, when of course she and Lewis are not dating. And so begins a very, very awkward fake dating scenario in which two people who live in their heads have to remember to act like they are in love when they in fact cannot stand each other. This is a single POV romance, which means that we only get this story from Frances's side the entire time. And while I have read romances that do this single POV successfully, in this case, this book felt very uneven because of it. There are a lot of reasons, if not all of the reasons, for Lewis to not agree to this fake dating scenario, and his reasons for agreeing to do it are kind of unclear, except for that he feels that he owes her, because obviously Frances has misunderstood the entire thing that started their rivalry. This is hidden from us in the book for quite a long time, even though understanding the basis of this rivalry really would have helped us in the beginning. It's alluded to for a really, really long time before we actually get an explanation, so I don't even feel comfortable telling you what it is, even though it's in the past, because the book hides it for unknown reasons. But again, it was just weird. It really did feel like throughout the book we needed Lewis to have some POV chapters. His character goes from grumpy to extremely sexy, suave, like, and back again, like kind of like a seesaw. It's very odd, and it does make this book seem to feel very, very uneven as you read it, because Frances seems to just not understand certain situations. Lewis's character does not seem to make a ton of sense, and it just makes it hard to really understand the relationship between the two characters. Frances says for a lot of the book that, she's a PhD, she's an academic. It's hard for her to understand social situations. It's hard for her to but like, she just says that a lot and then awkwardly runs her way through social situations. We actually don't see it a ton, because when the shoe really drops, Frances at least proves to be better in social situations most of the time than Lewis. So again, you get that weird thing throughout the book where Frances is saying, I have difficulty in social situations, I have difficulty reading social cues, and then never seeing it, except for it's supposed to be the explanation for the couple of times the plot really needs that to happen. For all the rocky areas in the writing of this book, I will say that it has a lot of really awesome things to say, particularly about sexism in academia. Frances, from the beginning, is someone who had to create her own path because she knew that if she stayed with her ex and they were constantly publishing together, that she would always be seen not as his equal, but as his add-on, and she didn't want that for her life. She kind of is explaining to Lewis, particularly when they start the fake dating scenario, and then later when you do start to understand exactly what it is that he did that started their rivalry, that things that he could do or did do or can do with his career are sometimes either not available to her, or they're just 10 times harder because she is a woman in STEM, and she kind of has to talk him through different experiences that she has had that he just can't really like understand from his point of view. And so there's a lot of good stuff about that there. There's some really, really funny and I would say niche jokes that I think you would only get if you were like me and you like publish in academic spaces, that made it really funny to read, even though my PhD isn't in STEM necessarily. There's a lot of like academic like inside jokes that are made throughout the book that are really funny. In that case, I enjoyed it like I did a book that I reviewed at the end of last year called An Academic Affair. Those two characters were in academia in the English world, which is, I would say, slightly closer to what I do than neuroscience. But it was funny to see two people making jokes about things that annoy me, that I don't think are necessarily out there and like common knowledge. So this may be another one of those books that is kind of niche in that way. I will admit that I've also never read an Ali Hazelwood romance. This was one of my first forays into this subgenre of STEM romances, I guess is what we're calling it. So maybe if you've read some of those, more of this will land for you, but I enjoyed it. But I don't know how many of those jokes other people would get. I also appreciated that this book tried to go beyond the characters themselves. Frances has a very interesting relationship with her little sister. She's technically the older sister, but her younger sister is already married. She has a stable life. And so for Frances, it kind of like treats her younger sister as her older sister, and they appear to be very close, and it's a very loving relationship. And she's also close with her parents who support her. while Lewis, even though he has a PhD, is the black sheep in his very business-minded rich kid family. And so, you know, Frances is there to support Lewis as he tries to be there for his younger brother who is graduating and taking all of this stuff from his parents who really don't think that what he's doing with his life is worthwhile. So there is that attempt. Again, it just ends up being kind of rocky in the writing because there's this thing that happens between Frances and her sister later on in the book when everything, you know, the third act, kind of everything falls apart situation seems to come out of nowhere. And it's like, okay, I guess later on when it's explained, I can kind of see where you're coming from. But like this whole like shift in their relationship just kind of felt like it came out of nowhere. And it's a very similar thing that also happens with the third act in general. Again, there's a trope of miscommunication here. We all know, I hate that. And then not only does it not particularly make sense, but it's also never really resolved. And actually, in the end, I kind of feel like Frances ends up doing herself a disservice. And so, again, there were just like some really good points of this that were followed up by some really confused points. And yeah, it was just, there was a lot of good things that this novel wanted to do and wanted to say and was trying to do, but the writing and the characters were just so uneven that, did I read it? Yes. Did I enjoy it? Yeah, but it's like a solid 3-star for me, where I didn't not want the two characters to be together, but at the same time, I wanted their characterization to be better. I liked the roundness that their characters had, but I know that it could have been better. And again, the plot just kind of yin-yanged itself around in really strange ways. So yeah, it felt like a debut novel, which is what this novel is. And so it is one of those things where I would be interested in reading something from Hannah in the future, but this is one where we are clearly working on ironing out some kinks in potentially the plotting process, all that type of stuff. So that's why I said up top, maybe you want to check this out for yourself. Maybe it's one that you want to pass on. If this is a genre that you enjoy, I bet you would also enjoy this one. But if you are looking for a romance novel with jokes that everyone can enjoy, that has like a deeper, more well-rounded romance, this is, I not think, what you're looking for. So, of course, this is just my opinion. Take that with a grain of salt. But I just wanted more from this one, even though it did make me laugh. Like I said at the top, I did read an arc of this book, so thank you to Edelweiss and the publisher for my free advanced review copy. However, this is out today, so you can, as always, make up your own mind. My opinions are only my own. So go out, and if you're interested, check out this book from your local library or local bookstore, however it is that you get your books. If you have other recommendations for STEM romances that might be more enjoyable, please leave those down in the comments. But otherwise, I will try to be back on Monday next week. We'll see if that happens. Thanks, guys. Bye.